Hey, Alan here for Old English Outfitters. So who doesn't like cowboy movies? Who doesn't like Old West movies? Everybody, as far as I've ever heard, always likes those, right? And a lot of that stuff focuses on what was kind of the heyday of the Old West, which was the late 1800s. Well, in the late 1800s, the United States Army, specifically United States Cavalry, mostly, was involved in a lot of campaigns in the western part of the United States. And they carried some interesting weapons. And, of course, their primary firearm was the 1873 Colt revolver, the famous single-action army, in .45 Colt caliber. .45 Colt was actually designed to be capable of dropping a horse. You believe that? Yeah, actually designed to be capable of doing that at, say, 50 yards or thereabout. It was a very good cartridge. Still is a very good cartridge. Always has been. And the Army started using it, and of course we use it today. Cowboy action shooters use it, and it's used in a lot of other modern firearms as well. The Colt 1873 revolver was kind of the Army standard in the .45 Colt, also sometimes referred to as .45 Long Colt caliber. The reason it's called Long Colt is because back in those days, there was an Army officer by the name of Shofield. In fact, there's still a Shofield barracks that bears his name. Mr. Shofield designed a modification to the Smith & Wesson Model 3 revolver. The Smith & Wesson No. 3 was a top-break revolver, and Mr. Shofield designed a couple modifications to it. Now, the Army was interested in this revolver for a couple reasons, but one of the things they wanted was they wanted it to be able to shoot .45 Colt. Well, didn't do that. It was designed to shoot the .45 Shofield, which was a shorter cartridge than .45 Colt with a little bit heavier rim on it. But the nice thing was it was basically interchangeable with the .45 Colt. If you had a gun with a .45 Colt chamber, a .45 Shofield would fit and fire in it. That is still the case today, by the way, if you can find .45 Shofield ammunition. There are some people who still make it. Well, the No. 3 became called the Shofield. Now, sometimes it's confused and people call it the Schofield. Now, that was Cyrus Schofield. He was a preacher who worked on a reference Bible. Schofield was his name. Shofield was the Army officer who put his specific design modifications into the Smith & Wesson No. 3, and it became this, the Smith & Wesson Shofield military revolver. Now, this one is made by Uberti over in Italy. Very well-respected company. They make a lot of replica firearms. They make 1873s, they make rifles, they make all kinds of stuff, and they do a pretty good job. Their quality across the board is pretty good, and if you want one of these, this is a good place to get them because the quality is good. Generally, you can find them. They're not cheap. They're north of $1,000 somewhere, but you can usually find them. We've managed to get a few of them, and it's a really cool gun. I've always thought that all the firearms through the 1860s and up through the 1880s, I always thought they were the best looking guns ever made. Nothing today that we make looks as nice as these. It just doesn't, right? And look at this. I mean, it's a beautiful gun. It is a typical single action revolver, just like the rest of the No. 3s. This modern rendition of it has a very nice blue finish. We've got color case hardened hammer, color case hardened top of the backstrap here, color case hardened on the cylinder latch, some color case hardening down here, trigger, and the grips are simulated kind of like pearl, not really ivory, more like pearl. They look like a simulated pearl. The grips have a little slope on the side, perfect spot for your thumb, perfect spot for your thumb to rest. Nicely balanced gun. Guns in .45 Colt with about a 7 or 7.5 inch barrel. I think we got 7 inches here. Colts were usually 7.5s. All balanced just so well. They just balance perfectly. You can point them. They point very naturally with one hand. They're very easy guns to point. We don't have the kind of colored sights, and no, it's not optics ready, that you see on a lot of modern things, right? But you do have a notch back here, and you do have a blade front sight that are quite well regulated. We had no trouble hitting what we shot at with it. What made this gun interesting to Shofield and what made it interesting to the Army was the fact that you could unload all the chambers all at once. Now, if you're familiar with a single-action Colt and similar gun, You load one at a time. When you're ready to unload the empties, you eject one at a time. It's a two-handed operation pretty well any way you want to cut it. Not so with this. Back that hammer up to half cock because the hammer has a fixed firing pin like the Colts of the time did, okay? So you back that up to half cock, and this, where the rear sight is, the cylinder latch, you just pull it back and the gun falls right open. And did you notice what happened when it fell open? See the ejector come up? The ejector comes up, and when it does that, all 5 of your empty cartridges go flying, and you're ready to reload. Think about a trooper on horseback, or anybody on horseback. You got one hand managing the horse, you can do that, and now you've at least cleared your gun, you're ready to reload. You're going to need another hand to do that, but it's a lot faster than one of the others was. But you said it was a 6-shot chamber. Yeah, I did. And you said that 5 empties came out. Yeah, I did. Because like other single-action guns with fixed firing pins, you don't want to carry it with a live round under the hammer. So how do you do that? Because this is different than the Colt, right? Well, when you're ready to load, you load the first chamber that's underneath the top strap. The cylinder on this gun rotates clockwise. It rotates to the right. So the first chamber to the right, you leave empty. Actually, be the first chamber to the left because it's going to rotate right? Yeah, right. So you leave that one empty. Load the others. When you close it, go to full cock and lower the hammer all the way down. Cylinder's locked shut, and the firing pin went right into the empty chamber, so you're completely safe. And then you just go to full cock when you're ready to fire, and away you go. Got your empties done. Back it up one notch. Away they go the empties, and you're ready to reload. Very, very nice system. A little trivia. If you ever look at a picture of an 1880s era cavalryman, you might, if you look closely, you'll notice that, of course, they still wore their revolvers butt forward on the right side. They were right-handed. And they did that for a reason. But if you notice closely, their holsters, unlike the old Civil War holsters that had full flaps, have kind of a half flap. That half flap has 2 holes in it. Because while the holster would take this or the 1873, the grip angle was different. So you needed a different hole for the flap to correctly latch. Little cavalry trivia from the 1880s. Beautiful pistol. Easy to shoot. 45 Colt is not in the, we call them cowboy loads these days. They're not super heavy loads. Now, 45 Colt can be hand loaded to where it's not going to be very much distinguishable from 44 Magnum. And 45 Colt was the basis for the hand loads that developed the stomping 454 Casull. Do not shoot those in this. This gun is not really designed for those kind of heavy loads, and you know what? It doesn't need to be. 45 Colt in what we call cowboy loads is still a very effective round, even with just a lead bullet. Still a very effective round, just like it was back then. So, the Uberti, and this particular one's imported by Taylor's, and of course, Ubertis can also be imported directly through Benelli, right? But the Shofield Revolver from Uberti, great gun, really cool pistol, a lot of fun to shoot. Takes you back to the days of romance and lore of the Old West. All right, well, there you go. We've got a few of these, and from time to time we get them. So if you're interested, check with us. Give us a call. Check for current price, current availability, because it does go up and down, as we know with lots of things. Beautiful gun. Highly recommended if you like that time period and you like a really nice gun to fire anyway. All right. Well, that's what we have. The Shofield Revolver in 45 Colt from Uberti. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Alan for Old Lynch Outfitters.